Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to grow potatoes in Florida. I'm Christina with Forever Food Forest, a channel where I explore ways of growing food without the use of herbicides, pesticides, or commercial fertilizers. And instead, I rely on permaculture gardening principles and other natural farming techniques to grow food. Have you ever considered that the humble potato might be one of nature's most perfect survival foods? They're high in calories, high in nutrients, and no matter how you slice them, you can incorporate them into almost every meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even as snacks. And growing potatoes is big business, with billions of dollars being spent by big agriculture on research and development and genetic modification to engineer a potato that's pest resistant, high yielding, and immune to soil diseases. And I don't know about you, but I don't like my food being grown in a lab. And the best way to avoid that is to grow your own. The cleanliness of your potato growing medium matters, and by that I mean that your growing medium should be free of herbicides, pesticides, lead, and other contaminants. Since potatoes make direct contact with the medium that they're grown in, if the idea of eating potatoes bothers you, don't use manures as fertilizer. And the good news is you can grow your potatoes in pretty much anything: straw, wood chips, and plain old Florida dirt. If you live in a low-lying area of Florida that's prone to flooding, one of the best ways to grow your potatoes would be in raised garden beds or containers. When it comes to growing potatoes in Florida, the biggest secret is knowing when to plant them. You see, potatoes require soil temperatures to be in a cooler range of about 49 to 68 degrees to produce tubers. And the temperatures need to stay in that range for about 4 months. So that means if you want to have a successful potato harvest, you have to get them in the ground now. From end of November to beginning of December is the most optimal time to plant your potatoes in Florida. Potatoes need about 8 hours of direct sunlight, so you're going to plant your potatoes in full sun. And you might have heard that full sun does not equal full sun in Florida. Well, that rule does not apply in the winter months when the days are much shorter and the sun and the temperatures are much lower. Since we start growing potatoes at the end of fall, you might have a difficult time sourcing seed potatoes. But there's no need to spend your money on expensive seed potatoes because you can plant just regular old potatoes that you buy at the store, as long as they're organic and not genetically modified. But why should you listen to me? After all, I'm just some lady on the internet. My best teacher is failure, and 2 years ago I had a comically bad potato harvest. If you're one of the OG subscribers, you might remember that video.
Okay, some of them rotted in the ground, so that's gross. That is yuck.
But as gardeners, we learn from our mistakes. And look, you can grow something all your life, but being thrown into a completely new climate and soil type will quickly humble you. And so I took all the lessons that I learned from a previous year and incorporated them into my potato growing practices. And this was the result. I started by filling a 2-foot tall garden bed with a mix of wood chips and grass clippings. This process is essentially called hot composting, and I'm using it to break down the wood chips. Then I continuously added grass clippings about every 2 weeks over the spring, summer, and fall. And then I let the bed rest for about 2 months before planting. And this is what the wood chip mix looked like when done. This whole process took about 12 months. Next, I grabbed some potatoes from the pantry. We were leaving on holiday the next day, and since I didn't have time to eat them, I figured it would be a perfect opportunity to plant them. If I had more space, I could have divided the potatoes to make more plants. As far as timing, it was the middle of December and the soil temperatures were just starting to drop. And over here I'm using a screen mesh and a compost sifter to keep the cats from leaving surprises in my garden. As the plants got bigger, I was scrambling to find something I can use to hill them. I ended up using some native Florida soil that I dug out when planting my blueberries and some composted seaweed that I got from a relative. And the months of January and February were optimal in terms of growing potatoes, with soil temperatures hovering around 58 to 60 degrees every day. And what really surprised me is how healthy the plants looked compared to the previous year. And since healthy plants don't taste good to pests, I had zero issues with insects. At the end of March, the temperatures rose and the foliage started to die back, which meant that it was time for harvest. And now it's time for the great potato redemption. It's not a bad harvest considering there's a bunch of them in the garden bed still. I took a low maintenance approach when it came to growing potatoes this year. I didn't use any fertilizers or pest control, and I hardly even used any irrigation. Look at how cool they grow on the stem. So this is just from one plant, and I think this is way more than what I got from all my plants last year. Okay, I'm pulling gently. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah. Look at these. Beautiful. It's kind of cool how these are attached to the plant by like these umbilical cords. Look at that. Now, I feel like there would be more potatoes in here, so I'm going to very gently. I was right. Well, I guess that's it for plant number 2. This one's more of a quality than quantity plant. Now let's go for plant number 3. So many earthworms. Oh, here we got one. A little wanderer. Oh no. That one we'll have to eat first. Well, if there are any left in here, which there will be, they will just sprout up next year. Now I'm just going to loosen the soil because I really don't want to damage these, and I kind of want to see them in their natural habitat. That's an avocado pit. That's from the compost. That's it. That's from 4 plants. And now for the moment of truth, let's weigh these. Maybe help us survive a month. That was a pretty decent yield for a crop that was virtually maintenance free. This year, I think I tried to improve upon it by implementing some sort of a fertilization schedule, as well as trying hilling the potatoes with different organic materials. Now, did you know that potatoes were not always so popular? In fact, when they were first introduced in Europe during the Columbian Exchange, the people found them to be dirty and disgusting, and they thought that the king was trying to poison them by trying to get them to eat them. And at the time, there was also a shortage of wheat and a famine, and the king knew that if they didn't start eating the potatoes, his people would starve. So he had a brilliant idea. He declared the potato a royal vegetable, and he said that only the royals can eat it. And then he instructed his kingdom to grow it all around the royal palace. And he turned to his guards and said, you make sure to guard these potatoes really well and don't let anybody steal them. And sure enough, the peasants saw the guarded potatoes and started stealing them. And soon enough, everyone in Germany was growing and eating potatoes, thinking it was some kind of royal delicacy. I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.